The realm. Do you know what the realm is? It's the 1,000 blades of Aegon's enemies. A story we agree to tell each other over and over till we forget that it's a lie.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back for another Game of Thrones Season 8 trailer breakdown video. Today I will be taking a look at the trailer for the second episode. It looks like this episode will pick back up right where we left off in the first episode. As you all know, the first episode ended by Jaime Lannister arriving in Winterfell. When Jaime got inside of the courtyard, he started to look around until his eyes met Bran Stark's. Bran was actually sitting out there all night waiting for his old friend to show up. And like I said in my last video, I think this is a day that we have all been waiting for. Jaime and Bran have not seen each other since the first episode of Season 1 ended, when Jaime thrown Bran Stark out of the tower window. Now that Jaime is in Winterfell, he will have to answer for his crimes, which is what we see happening at the beginning of the new trailer. We can see Jaime standing front and center, with most of the main cast surrounding him in the Great Hall of Winterfell. Now it looks like it's about to get turned into a courtroom drama.
When I was a child, my brother would tell me a bedtime story about the man who murdered our father. About all the things we would do to that man.
If you look closely, you can see Jon, Daenerys, and Sansa are sitting at the main table. Bran Stark is sitting right off to the side of that main table. If you look to the left of Jaime, you can see his brother Tyrion Lannister, along with Varys, Missandei, and it looks like Jorah Mormont is sitting at the table too. Now if you look at the table to the right of Jaime Lannister, you can see Davos, Lyanna Mormont, Yohn Royce, Elise Karstark, and Brienne. During this scene, you can hear Daenerys Targaryen say, "When I was a child, my brother would tell me a bedtime story about the man who murdered our father, and about all the things we would do to that man." So just based on that alone, it looks like Daenerys Targaryen will be the one doing most of the questioning. We can also see that it's Daenerys who is now sitting at the head of the table, whereas in the last episode, it was Jon Snow who was sitting at the head of the table. So now it's looking like Daenerys may be the judge in the case. There was no mention of Jaime trying to kill Bran Stark, but this is only a very short trailer. I'm sure this will be brought up as well. My question is, how does all of this unfold? We know Jaime Lannister fights during the battle for Winterfell, but we don't know exactly what happens that gets Jaime out of this sticky situation. Well, first things first. Since we know for a fact that Jaime is questioned about the Mad King, how does he get them to understand he did the right thing by killing him? I imagine Brienne will be one of the few characters that are willing to jump to Jaime's defense. As we all know, she knows the true story about what happened with the Mad King. Jaime told her this when they were bathing together at Harrenhal. We can also assume Jaime's brother, Tyrion, will also stand up for him as well. Those are the obvious choices, but I believe it will be Bran Stark's testimony that has the biggest impact on Jaime's future, not only in the eyes of the North, but also in the eyes of the entire realm. Jaime and Bran Stark's stories have been intertwined ever since the first episode of the series. Jaime throwing Bran Stark out of the tower window is one of the big moments that helped kick off the entire story. Now, most of you who have been following my channel for a few years should already know that I think that moment between Jaime and Bran in Season 1 could come full circle at the end of the series. Since Jaime tried to kill Bran Stark, no one could have seen this coming at that time. There was really no reason for anyone to think Bran Stark would eventually stand up for Jaime Lannister, but I think we could see this happen very soon, quite possibly in the very next episode. This is something that I talked about in one of my videos I released a little over 6 months ago. One of the biggest stains on Jaime's reputation is the fact that he is known as the Kingslayer. He killed the king he swore to protect. Sometimes we would even see Jaime embrace this persona as a man that cannot be trusted. But there were also times where we would hear Jaime deny killing the Mad King in cold blood. However, no one wanted to believe him, but then we started to get some hints that maybe Jaime was telling the truth. Maybe he really did have a good reason to kill the Mad King.
What did the Mad King say when you stabbed him in the back? I never asked. Did he call you a traitor? Did he plead for a reprieve?
He said the same thing he'd been saying for hours. Burn them all.
That was one of many small clues there was more to the story. Even Robert Baratheon did seem to believe Jaime in that moment, but it never did change the way other characters looked at Jaime. They still only saw him as the Kingslayer. We had to wait for several more seasons to go by before we got Jaime's full version of the story. Like I said earlier, this happened when Jaime and Brienne were bathing together at Harrenhal.
Tell me if your precious Randy commanded you to kill your own father and stand by while thousands of men, women, and children burned alive, would you have done it? Would you have kept your oath then?
In my opinion, that was one of the greatest moments in the show. This was a pivotal moment in Jaime and Brienne's relationship. This was also one of the moments that helped us, as fans, see Jaime in a different light. We began to understand why Jaime was left with no choice but to kill the Mad King. The only problem is no one else besides Brienne really knows the story. Even if Jaime did tell other characters that same story, how many of them would believe him?
When I watched the Mad King die, I remembered him laughing as your father burned. It felt like justice.
Is that what you tell yourself at night? You're a servant of justice. That you were avenging my father when you shoved your sword in Aerys Targaryen's back.
At times, we would see Jaime act like he did not care when people called him the Kingslayer, but deep down, this was actually eating him alive. This is not how Jaime wants to be remembered. We can see there are times when Jaime would reflect on this.
So Jaime Lannister. Someone forgot to write down all your great deeds.
There's still time.
Is there? For a 40-year-old knight with one hand?
We are now at the final season of Game of Thrones, but this is still one of the only things Jaime is known for in the eyes of the realm. Jaime was a member of the Kingsguard ever since he was a teenager, but he still only had one page of deeds in that white book. That book is meant for the good deeds, but Jaime's section talks of him killing the Mad King. This has haunted Jaime. We may not see it as often in the television show, but in the books, Jaime is always thinking about that book, or just sitting and looking at it, wondering what he can do to change it. The good thing for Jaime is he still has time to do some good deeds. His story isn't over yet. We see Jaime mention this exact thing when Joffrey makes fun of his accomplishments. Then we see Jaime thinking about this again. This is one of the reasons why Jaime gives Brienne the Sword Oathkeeper. He wants to keep his word that he gave to Lady Catelyn about helping keep her daughter safe.
Knighted and named to the Kingsguard in his 16th year. At the sack of King's Landing, murdered his king, Aerys II. Pardoned by Robert Baratheon. Thereafter known as the Kingslayer.
It's the duty of the Lord Commander to fill those pages. And there's still room left in mine.
As you can see, this is the second time Jaime says this. In my opinion, there is no way in hell Jaime dies without getting some redemption, and this is where Bran Stark comes into play. This is what we could see happen in the next episode. Like I said in my last video, Bran Stark will not want to see Jaime get killed for his crimes. By now, Bran already understands that him becoming the new Three-Eyed Raven was a part of his destiny. Bran had to become this magical force in order to save the realm. Not only will Bran forgive him for throwing him out of the window, but Bran also knows Jaime did not murder the Mad King in cold blood. Jaime did that to save the 500,000 citizens of King's Landing. Now, although Bran Stark knows this, no one else really does, which is why we see Daenerys speaking to Jaime like this. Besides Brienne and maybe Tyrion, everyone else still sees Jaime as the Kingslayer. They will not be enough to convince everyone that Jaime actually did the right thing by killing the Mad King. Bran Stark has already seen what happened between Jaime and the Mad King. He was shown this for a very good reason. We see Bran begin to download all the information when him and Mira Reed are on the run.
Burn them all!
Where's my sister?
Burn them all!
Bran Stark will tell everyone what really happened. He did see Jaime kill the Mad King, but he also heard the Mad King say burn them all. At the same exact time, he was getting visions of all the wildfire under King's Landing. Bran now knows why Jaime had to do this. They will believe Bran Stark, the same way they did when Bran told everyone about Littlefinger. Now, who could have seen these turn of events coming? At the beginning of the story, Jaime tried to kill Bran Stark, but now it will be Bran Stark who actually saves Jaime. How crazy is that? Now you are probably wondering, why would Bran do this for Jaime? Does he have a good reason for wanting to see Jaime live? Well, I believe Jaime is meant to do something big. I think Jaime's either going to sacrifice himself to save one of the Starks during the battle for Winterfell, or he will go on to save King's Landing again. Jaime told Qyburn he saved 500,000 citizens in King's Landing when he killed the Mad King. Then, during last season, we are told that King's Landing now has over 1 million. We had to have been told that for a reason. Quite possibly because history could repeat. We already know Cersei has no problem when it comes to using wildfire in her own city. She would not hesitate to use it again. Bran may help Jaime because maybe he either knows or has a sense it will have to be Jaime that takes down his sister and saves the city again. Once Bran Stark tells everyone the truth about Jaime and the Mad King, I imagine we could see Jaime swear his sword to House Stark. Now remember, Jaime and Brienne both have the swords that were made from House Stark's sword Ice. That sword was melted down and made into 2 swords. Brienne has one, and Jaime has the other. Well, in the next episode, we could see both of those swords back in the service of House Stark, exactly where it is meant to be. Both of those swords could end up saving some of the Starks as well. You have to admit, it would be kind of poetic if that was the case. Now, after the battle for Winterfell and the battle for King's Landing is over, I think someone, most likely Brienne, will go find that white book, then make the necessary adjustments so that Jaime isn't only remembered as the Kingslayer. So this is how I see things playing out between Jaime and Bran. Now it seems obvious from the rest of the trailer that Jaime did in fact tell everyone that Cersei lied about sending them soldiers. We can hear Dany and Sansa talking about this in the library of Winterfell. I'm sure things are about to get very uncomfortable for Tyrion Lannister because he is the one that's been telling everyone Cersei is helping. They're not going to be happy about this. I think we will begin to see Tyrion distance himself from everyone else even more. We even get that very ominous scene where we see Tyrion standing all alone on top of the battlements. I'm still getting the sense that Tyrion will not be standing by Dany's side at the end of all of this. I did just make a video about Tyrion and Varys not too long ago, so I won't go into all of this again. Another thing we do see in the trailer is something we saw in the official trailer. Here we can see Daenerys Targaryen go down into the crypts of Winterfell where Jon Snow is already at. Now it's hard to say if Dany knows the truth about Jon at this time. I'm not entirely sure if Jon will want to tell everyone right away. I think that could complicate things before the big battle. If I were him, I would actually wait. But there is a very good chance he could say something to Dany down in the crypts of Winterfell where they are alone. Now obviously I have no idea how this would actually play out, but this might have been foreshadowed in the last episode. When we see Davos, Tyrion, and Varys are looking at Jon and Dany, we can hear Varys end the conversation by saying, "Nothing lasts forever." Maybe that's foreshadowing Jon and Dany's relationship. Now something I did find interesting is getting to see Arya Stark hold that bow and arrow. When the first official trailer came out, we could see someone holding a bow and arrow, but they never did show their face. I later made another video where I went over who I thought it could be, and one of my options was Arya Stark, mainly because we have seen her shoot a bow ever since the very first episode of the show. This also makes me wonder how many damn weapons we could see Arya use during the battle. We already know she has Needle and her Valyrian steel dagger, but we also saw her holding up a dragonglass dagger in the new trailer. Now we are seeing her hold a bow and arrow, and in the first episode, we see her go to Gendry to have him make another weapon. Arya's about to be strapped. Now I actually just saw something very interesting about the new weapon Arya is having made by Gendry. The man that makes all the weapons for Game of Thrones said something about this new weapon that really got my attention. He said Arya's new weapon will be a showstopper. Now I don't know about you, but that tells me Arya's new weapon will do something big. As in most likely either kill the Night King or even his dragon. I can't think of anything else it would do during the battle that would be considered a showstopper. Let me know what you think that could mean. I doubt he's just referring to it killing some whites or White Walkers. He said it was a showstopper. That sounds like something more important than just killing whites and White Walkers, but who knows. Now the rest of the trailer is basically everyone just getting ready to fight the Army of the Dead. We can see that Winterfell is heavily equipped with all kinds of new weaponry. Also, we can see Jorah Mormont get a new Valyrian steel sword in the episode as well. This is something I did predict would happen. Sir Jorah Mormont will be using Samwell Tarly's Valyrian steel sword Heartsbane, the one that he took from his father back in Season 6. As I said before, this does make sense because as we all know, Jorah Mormont is a much better fighter than Samwell Tarly. They need to have the Valyrian steel weapons in the hands of their most experienced fighters. As we all know, Jorah Mormont has been kicking ass for years, and he can certainly ride a horse better than Samwell Tarly too. Since Sam and Jorah became fast friends last season, it doesn't make sense to me that he would let him use the sword during the battle. We also see that Beric Dondarrion and Tormund Giantsbane make it to Winterfell before the Night King, which is good because I do want to see them fight in the battle. I still think Beric Dondarrion has a purpose to serve in the upcoming battle. They have kept this character around this long for good reason. I made a video about this before, which I will leave that video link in my description. Now I'm thinking this second episode will end on a cliffhanger just like the first episode did when Jaime Lannister arrived, only this time it will be the Night King's army arriving. When the official trailer came out, there was a scene where we could see Winterfell off in the distance. Then moments later we could see a White Walker's horse step into frame. I think this is how the second episode ends. As soon as the White Walker's horse steps into frame, the episode will fade to black. Let me know what you think we could see in the second episode. Also, leave me some of your questions down below. I may make another video this week where I answer several questions from the comment section. Anyways, I want to thank everyone for stopping by to watch the video. I appreciate that as always. And I also want to thank everyone on Patreon for supporting the channel during the long night. I hope you all have a great day, and I hope to see you all come back for the next video. I'll see you soon. Bye.